This is Get Your Voice Out There. I'm Roberta Chadis, and today we have a very special guest on our show. This is Dorothy Kerzner. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Dorothy.
you so much, Roberta. I really appreciate your having me.
Well, I am very excited because I've known you for a long
lifetime.
time. Yes, indeed. And I thought, just to get us started, that we would watch a very short video, and then we'll get to know Dorothy. So let's watch this video.
Thank you.
My oh my, me oh me, Umi lives as part of me, teaching me right from wrong, so come along.
The Umi story. It was so dark, and I am so scared sitting by myself in the middle of the woods. I hear the hoot of an owl in the distance. I am startled and start to cry. I hear it say, ooh, ooh. But I can only think of me. As I try to wipe away my fears and tears, a beautiful snow-white owl gently touches my tear with his wing. I watch in amazement as the tear crystallizes. I awake and suddenly feel no fear. I find strength that I didn't know that I had. I remember the owl screech, ooh, ooh. And I remember yelling, me, me. Ooh, me, ooh me, ooh me, ooh me. Lights out.
Dorothy, I always love listening to you tell this story of Umi. And for our audience, Dorothy is a yoga teacher. She's a hypnotist and a massage therapist. But I'd love for you to tell the story of Umi and a little bit about your history and how you got involved with yoga.
That's a long story. I found the Umis after I got involved with yoga. And my yoga story goes back to in the early 60s when I was visiting my son in Brazil. And his mother there, who was absolutely gorgeous, and she was in her 50s. I thought she was pretty old then. And she wouldn't go to the jockey club to have dinner until she went to her yoga class. And I thought that was very funny. So when I came back here, I told my friends about it, and there was a class starting at the high school. And it was an Indian man named Sri Kana. And Sri Kana offered a yoga class with only 20 people, and I was the 20th. My friends all dropped out within a short time, and I'm still learning. So it's been quite a journey. And to go back to the Umis, when I started studying yoga and realized that inside everybody, you need that power, that happy self, I said, well, I'm going to create a character that would represent that. And I started out with the little gingerbread type character as you have on you.
Yes.
And then it just wasn't going anyplace. And years later, I was talking to a friend, and she said, let's change the shape of Umi. And that's my friend Shelby. And so we became involved, and we made the Umi pillows, and we have the story, as you just heard, and we still have the Umi pins, and children love it. My great-grandson sleeps with his Umi, and that's where the whole story of my life begins. It's like, share your inner light and help other people grow with their inner light. And if only more people realized how important that was, that the Umi brings so much to each person. And when you feel that things are down and you're out and you want to have your own power, tap your Umi and it will come to you. So everybody has a Umi, it's just discovering it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got into yoga and you started teaching it.
Well, when I came back from Brazil and I started yoga, my teacher called me one night and said, I can't get my head off the pillow. You have to teach my class. I said, I don't know what to do. He said, well, do what we did last week and give them lots of relaxation. So I went into, I think I had more nerve than brains at the time. I went into Boston at the YWCA, and there was a class of 50 people, and I did not know what I was doing, but I gave them lots of relaxation, and it was the longest hour and a half I ever spent. But that took me on my journey, and I realized how little I really knew. And I became very interested in all the other things that, as I learned, they came up. So that was the beginning of my yoga practice. And soon I started my own classes. And I was teaching 7 classes a week.
I know. We have a couple of pictures of you teaching some yoga
I was
on
teaching
the roof.
at the, I teach at the Dowsers Convention every year. I teach at the Hypnosis Convention every year. And of course I have my own classes, which I'm still teaching.
Well, since you mentioned dowsing, let's just talk about what that means. Dowsing and how you get involved
it's through
in that.
yoga that I came into many of the modalities that I'm doing. I was teaching in Boston at Charles River Park, and I had 2 students, and every year they would say to me, we won't see you next week, we're going to our Dowsers group. And I said, finally I said to them, what is the Dowsers? And she says, well, she gave me all the information, and the following year I went to the Dowsers and got hooked. Dowsing is a modality that you use. I have my pendulum, and the pendulum, you talk to it, and it answers you, but there's a thing about dowsing that it can only be used for good. It can't be used like people say, well, I want to find $1 million of gold mine. But you can use your dowsing pendulum and it will lead you. Should I eat this? Should I go here? Or I'm lost. Which direction should I take?
Oh.
It's a fascinating study, and I use it for healing because it can balance the body. If you take your, I have a dowsing pendulum that I use in my office. I think I've used it on you.
I think you did.
I put it on your chakras, and it goes one way, and then the other way, all the way up the spine. And if one of the chakras are out, you just hold it, and it works the chakras back. It's amazing what energy can do.
What is that made out of? Do we know?
It has nothing to do with what it is. Anybody can use, you could use your earring as your necklace, or you could use a hanger. You know, they have the pendulums like from the willow tree. They used the 2 branches and it would go down when they were looking for water. So it's a scientific study. I believe that it helps you, another way of working from your center, from your core. And you take yourself, that goes into the hypnosis, into another level. And under that level, you use your dowsing rods. So it's very fascinating.
It is fascinating. And of course, you've led me into the next question, which would be a little bit about hypnosis.
Well,
Such a fascinating subject.
Well, just as I got into dowsing through my classes, I was doing a relaxation cycle in class. And it's basically a progressive relaxation where you just have people just go and they relax. One of my students said, that's not yoga, that's hypnosis. And I said, I don't believe in hypnosis, that's yoga. So of course I had to study hypnosis. I took a yoga class, a hypnosis class, and I said, they're doing yoga. So I realized that hypnosis is not a terrible thing. It's just taking people to a relaxed state to discover what they need to enhance their life. And through hypnosis, a lot of healing is done, a lot of, well, habit control, cigarettes, weight. Basically, I use it for many different modalities. Habit
Can you
control.
define modalities when you say
Well,
modalities?
modalities could be, I could be stressed, I have a bad habit, I pick my, I bite my nails, I'm nervous, I've done it for fibromyalgia, for alcoholism. It's very difficult. You cannot make anybody do anything they don't want to do, so that if you find that you're going to work with somebody, you first have to find out they're really serious, because hypnosis is not sleep, and it's not your in and altered state completely, that in fact, you're more alert doing hypnosis than you
Are
are
you
now.
hypnotizing me now?
That would be easy
I don't know.
to
That
do,
would be really
Roberta.
funny. We won't do
Right.
that on the show.
No.
But I may ask you to do a little bit of a relaxation.
How you would do that?
Yes.
Well, to do a progressive relaxation would probably take most of the show. But what I can do is I can demonstrate a couple of movements and show you a very quick way that you can relax.
Okay.
One of them is by tensing, holding, and releasing.
All right.
So you can start with your feet.
Okay. We get
You
in position
tense, you
here.
hold, and release. And you work up your legs, tense, hold, and release. Through the buttocks in that middle area.
Okay.
Tense and hold and
Sure.
release. And all the way up through your heart, your chest, your lungs. You make a fist with your hands. And then what I do with my students, if I get up, is it all right to get up? Okay, so say you're all tight. You take a deep breath.
Okay.
Okay, you make a prune face. Tight, 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 tight. You take a deep breath and you go, and then just relax.
Sounds good.
So that's it's kind of a quick way. And then I have you using a finger technique,
Oh, yes.
which is an anchor. And an anchor will remind you that every time you're tense, you take a deep breath, you let go and go, relax, relax, relax. And that becomes a natural way of living, so that you're not tense all the time. Another technique I can show you that I think we did in class the other night is if somebody's spine is not comfortable or it feels uncomfortable.
You're going to get up again?
Can I stand up again?
Yes, you can.
Okay. You make a fist, and you bring your fist at your base, at your pelvis, and you pull your arms out. And you bring
And that
them in and
straightens.
pull them out. And bring them in and pull them out. And bring them in and out. And in and out
It feels
until you're
good.
all the way up. And you can just drop your shoulders. And you really feel aligned. And that's just instant things that you can do.
That's great.
But yoga is the study of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And when you're doing yoga, I know everybody asks, well, what kind of yoga? What are you doing? I do basic hatha yoga, which is body balancing. What is balancing? Well, yeah, it's 1 foot, and that's good too. But when you leave my class, I like to feel as though you've worked on every part of your body, and that you completely relaxed at the end. And again, that went into my relaxation in the end of my class. What do I do? Well, becoming a yoga teacher was one thing, but then I had to learn the anatomy so that I would understand the body better. So I took classes in basic body alignment work. And I realized that if I'm going to touch people, I want to be licensed. So I became a massage therapist. And as such, I can align my students in every class and not feel as though I'm imposing on them. So that's where I became grandfathered in to take the National Board Certification in yoga, in massage. And that was how I became involved in massage.
So you've done a lot, and I know you also do a little reflexology.
Yes, it's very important. Reflexology is a map of your body through your feet. And you can take your fingers on somebody's big toe and you can tell how their neck is, or you know where their brains are, the big toe, or you know your ears and your eyes are under the other toes, and then of course your stomach and your spine, and many times you'll discover that people don't tell you, but there's a project that they need to work on, and you can discover it through your feet.
You are amazing. I
It's
know I've come in with what I thought was a problem with my knee or my back, and you're like, no, I think it's coming from your foot. It's the way you're walking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of difference. The way people walk is amazing how they hurt their back.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Exactly. We have some pictures of you that I think we're going to just put up from time to time, but there's a particular one that I'd love for you to talk about, which is you doing a particular position which is hard for a lot of us to do. And I'm hoping we can get that picture up of Dorothy right there at the beach. And I want to hear a little bit about what you're doing at the beach and what you do every year.
Okay. Well, I lived on the beach for 18 years. And the first year I moved there, it was in the early 70s, somebody said to me, young lady, I was young then.
You're still
Come
young.
October 15th, thank you, that sounds good. Come October 15th, you won't be able to go near the water. October 15th came, and I was still going in the water. I went right through the winter, and the following year, I got a call from the Elk Street Brownies inviting me to come. I was the first woman, or one of the first anyways. I didn't know any other women. And I was the woman that they used to pick up and dunk in the water every year.
Why don't you tell our audience what the Elk Street Brownies is all
The
about?
Elk Street Brownies is a group that meets, they swim. Years ago it used to be men only, and they would swim nude in Elk Street.
In Boston.
And in Boston Harbor. And when they invited me, there may be 25 of us that went in. And every year now there's like 500 people that go in, but I go in by myself first before everybody comes. I don't get involved with the crazies anymore. I don't want to be ducked.
And we have, I think, if we haven't already shown the pictures of Dorothy in the water.
Yeah. Well, that was amazing, and so that was another challenge that I was given. That I said, okay, my family thinks I'm crazy, but it's okay. It's like being baptized every year.
Oh, I think it's great.
So you're going to come with me this year?
Well, maybe I will.
All right.
Maybe I will.
I'll put you up to that one.
All right. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. If it's a warm day. Only if it's a warm day.
Well, I've decided not to go in if it's below 25.
Oh, it's a good idea.
Okay.
It's a good idea. So how do you keep yourself so healthy, Dorothy? Do you have a special regimen?
Yes, I get up in the morning and do my yoga. I do my headstands every morning. I do my stretches, because if I don't do them, I really can't function well. So it's like the time that the doctor wanted to do surgery on my back. And I went into his office and he looked at me and he said, knowing you, I'd never touch you. And I'm very fortunate. Through the yoga and through the stretches, I maintain a healthy life. I'm basically vegetarian. I did put fish back in my diet a while back, but very, very little. There was a time when I was strictly vegan, and my nails started to break, my hair started to dry up. And that was when I put eggs back into my diet. And I eat yogurt. And I eat food as close to natural as possible. So that's the secret in keeping yourself healthy. All the additives they put into food, you go to the fast food, you don't know where it's coming from. So I do maintain a basic healthy lifestyle, and I don't do anything. I tell my students to do anything I don't do.
I know, you live the life. You're very authentic.
Yeah, well, I even eat ice cream every night, so. That's my nemesis. But it's very important to feel balanced in your life. So if you're too tight or you're too loose, you're not balanced.
It's so true, isn't it?
You know.
We go through our lives and we try to do things to an extreme, too much.
I know that.
Yeah, we get stressed.
Yeah.
I also want to ask you about this little intelligence report.
Oh, my hypnosis?
Yes.
Oh, this is the honor of braid. It was a big honor. I received it in 2009. I had been doing hypnosis for, well, since the 70s. And in fact, I was shocked when they gave it to me, but it was very nice. And I do
Want to hold that up?
teach a class at the hypnosis on, I use cerebral spinal fluid. I teach that at the hypnosis conference, and I do the yoga class at the conference every year. But then you also asked me, how did I start to ordain marriages?
Yes, I did.
Well, that's another thing started in my class. One of my students said, would you perform a marriage ceremony?
And I think we have a picture of you standing in front of a group of people.
Yes, that was a wedding that I did, right? And so I wasn't licensed at the time, but I studied and I got my license, and now I can ordain marriages.
Well,
I've
that's
done them
good for
all
our
over the
audience to know.
Yeah.
And,
Yes, that's right.
And Dorothy,
there's a picture
as a
of
matter
it.
of fact,
Yeah.
in case someone wants to get in touch with you about yoga, or perhaps they're about to get married.
Well, you can always go on my Facebook page, Dorothy Yoga, or you can call me at my phone number. Is that all right? 978-7. I don't even remember me now. 750-6722.
Okay.
I get mixed up with my cell phones.
Do that one more time.
978-750-6722.
Great.
And my website is dorothykerzner.com.
Okay.
But I think I use my Facebook page more now.
I bet you do.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And speaking of our audience, is there any one thing that you might want to suggest to people, other than the food, any particular?
Yes, I think it's very important for people to know that breathing is the core of everything that we're talking about. The faster you breathe, the more tense you are. The slower you breathe, the more relaxed. Most people, when they take a deep breath, I don't know if you can demonstrate this, but
Sure.
take a deep breath and, okay, so you noticed you lifted your chest?
I noticed it since you mentioned it, but
Okay.
I might not have.
All right. Yoga breathing is diaphragmatic. They teach you how to breathe this way when you're singing, when you take singing lessons. You know, your lungs are pear-shaped. The widest part is at your waist. Most people start yoga and they're belly breathers. And that's a funny story, because when we started Yoga Teachers of America, there were 7 of us, and that was in the 60s. We all looked around, we all had pot bellies, because we were belly breathers. But when you're breathing diaphragmatically, your diaphragm expands, your ribs separate, and your chest rises. When you exhale, the diaphragm goes in, ribs close, and your chest lowers. And that's basic breathing. Now, there's other breathing that we do. People want to stop smoking. I teach them the cleansing breath. And the cleansing breath really works if you're uptight, if you had an argument, if you feel upset for any reason, or you just want to cleanse yourself.
Can we do that cleansing breath? Is that the one that I think?
That's where you have to stand up.
Oh, no. Okay.
Want
All
me
right.
to stand up?
Sure,
All
you
right.
can stand
You
up.
take a deep breath, hold your thighs, and you go, and then you can suck your stomach in and out and do the gnarly, but we won't demonstrate that. But
Okay.
it's a shushing. And when you feel like you need a cigarette, you shush it out. You feel like you need food that you shouldn't want, you shush it out.
Well, this
Okay.
is
I
really
won't swear,
great
but you
advice.
can-
Really
It's
great
very
advice.
important to know that you have the power within you. It's just tapping that power. And when you tap the power, you can manage to do anything. You know, it's like, whoever thought that I would be teaching yoga, doing massage, doing hypnosis? I mean, one door opened, another door closed. You walk through. When the door opens, you walk through it. And if you don't, and you look behind, you get stuck. So this is
Very
basically,
true.
I'm still learning, I'm still teaching, but I'm learning. And every day there's something else that somebody can teach me.
Is there anything that I'm thinking of, anything dangerous about yoga, anything you shouldn't do?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yoga can be good for everyone. I remember when I had babies, we would do yoga on the floor. But people that have projects, they can't walk, they can't stand. There's always something you can do, whether it's breathing, stretching, holding onto a chair, doing movements. But the basic thing in yoga today is people go to a gym and they learn exercise. The difference between yoga and exercise is your breathing and holds and your awareness of what your body is doing. So if you're doing a stretch and you're going 1, 2, 1, 2, you don't know what's happening to your shoulders, your elbows, your hands. You don't know what's happening to your body. You do not have control. When you're doing yoga with awareness, you're breathing and you're holding the positions, you know where the movements are. I was originally taught the breathing first and the actual feeling of what's happening to your body rather than perfection of the postures. Today that's perfection of the postures and the other is pushed in the back. So yoga is becoming a physical exercise, which is fine too, because the more people that do it, the more people will begin to understand their inner self.
And I have to tell you that this time with you, not only was I relaxed, I'm hoping that our audience was relaxed as well, because there's nothing really better than hearing from someone who's done this work for
Well,
so
yeah, it's
long,
50
Dorothy.
years, over
really,
50
it's been
years, yeah.
a pleasure to know you.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you again for being on Get Your Voice Out There. So
Oh, thank you, Roberta.
so
It's
much.
been delightful. It's
Very,
taken me
very.
all over the world, and I've taught all over the world. And to be here with you today is just a delight.
Well,
Thank you
I
for
feel
having
the same
me.
way. I really do. And I want
My
to
good
thank
friend Roberta.
I want to thank our audience for watching, and we'll have another show up and ready for you the next time you tune in. So thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's over.